Hey folks, here at OS Reviews. In this video, we'll be doing a brief discussion of whether or not glass or tempered glass screen protectors are worthwhile. So these are designed for smartphones, phablets, even for tablets out there, and even for folks that have Corning Gorilla Glass displays already. You might consider a glass screen protector if you want some extra protection. So the glass itself is kind of brittle compared to a film protector that's made out of plastic, but the good part is if you drop your phone, the shock will be absorbed by the glass screen protector shattering, and it's going to be held into one piece since it's also made out of some plastic residue, and then you can just peel it off, and hopefully the screen underneath, or the glass screen, the physical glass screen on your phone, will be impeccable and not be damaged during the fall. So that is the premise. Now, tempered glass screen protectors are going to be more expensive. So starting with price compared to regular film protectors, we're talking about probably a 2 to 3 times price difference depending on where you look, although sometimes they can be less expensive if you consider them in packs that you might get. I should also point out that there are also a bit more variants you get with regular film or plastic screen protectors. We reviewed ones in the past which are also self-healing, uses the same technology found on the back of the LG G Flex, where the film allows the company to insert these micro capsules, and if you get scratches, essentially liquid seeps out from these tiny little cracks and then fills up the film and makes it look still polished and beautiful. So it has room for some other alternate forms of technology. There's also ones with UV filters and ones that shade privacy filters that allow no one else around you to see what's on your display. So there's other more custom protectors that you only get with film-based versions, but with glass it's basically just tempered, and that's it. You can customize, however, the thickness of the glass. Some companies make them thicker, some make them a bit thinner if you want it to fit more easily into super slim cases. Some want a bit more protection and are using it with more bulky cases, so thicker ones will work fine. So the one that we have today is a pretty typical one. It's for an older phone, the Galaxy S3, but generally what you get in the box is a few alcohol prep pads, a soft microfiber cloth, and instruction guides, as well as a few stickers. What happens is you wipe off the display on your phone, and then you also remove any additional dust using these stickers before applying it, hopefully in a slightly humid environment, so that dust has room to settle, and it gets heavier, so it lands on a floor or onto a surface, and it isn't floating around in the air anymore. But application of glass screen protectors typically is easier than film protectors, and this is because it's not as easily swayed by tiny particles or dust landing on your phone. Even if there's a slight amount of dust on your display, it still applies in a very beautiful manner just because the glass itself is a lot heavier. It presses down and tends to remove air bubbles by itself. So if you set it onto a surface for 24 hours, it tends to look very beautiful and immaculate by the time that you use your phone again. So as a brief point of comparison, here is an Ipod Touch 5G, and you can see that the glass screen protector here leaves no more dust as well as no lint. It can be really visible, even though I'm sure technically there are small pieces stuck somewhere, but it looks beautiful, and I still get full visibility and clarity of my display, and everything is still fairly responsive. With that being said, it's not going to be 100% as responsive as a thinner protector, just because there is another layer of separation between what's conducting your touch as well as what's interacting. What a typical glass screen protector would look like. It would come protected in a sleeve just to prevent it from getting cracked or damaged during shipment, and typically you would remove one end as the residue part and then attach it onto the phone's display, and then it would basically rest down as such. The other side is basically just a glass. There's no other protection in terms of it having another sticker to remove. It's basically as is, and they're mostly always going to be glossy, so it does reflect sunlight outdoors, but on the plus side, it does make the experience pretty easy to touch, and it's sleek and fluid, and a lot of these glass protectors have also been treated and curated, so it also prevents too much oil from landing on the surface, although it will pick up smudges a lot more than a matte protector, of course. So otherwise, it's a pretty rigid piece. This one is one of the slimmer models that are available on the market, and I believe it's 0.02 inches thick. And next, we're going to do a bit of a scratch test just to see how well it stands up. Coins here, which can represent if you have your phone in your pocket, and you also have coins and keychains, whether or not it would scratch. So let's just try doing a bit of scratching on here, and also try to press down, in case something might be dropping on your phone when you're running or jogging, in transportation, something like that. Maybe try a different coin if it's perhaps made out of a different material, and then after a bit we can take a closer look. So it seems like there's actually no scratches at all left by the coin. So it actually is very strong from these day-to-day regular objects, since it does have a typical rated hardness of 9H. So these are on a graded scale. So if you think about your pencils and lead also producing different hardness levels, then it will survive these regular objects. Here I might have something sharper, maybe let's say a ballpoint pen, something made out of steel. Perhaps it's being spiked, or it lands on something sharp. Let's see what happens. So if I try and scratch it now and apply a bit more force, you can see a little bit of movement here and there. But even if I'm pressing down when it's on a flat surface, if it's not landing at an angle, it should still resist from being broken down or really cracked that easily. But there's probably going to be a bit more of scratching that will show up now. So now there's definitely scratches showing up. So you can still see it on the side here. There's definitely kind of a layer that's starting to show. If I kind of wipe this down, some of it might be because of grease. A lot of it disappears, but there's still a visible amount of scratches left onto the display. So that's definitely going to leave a bit more of a mark. Same thing I should say about scissors or other objects that are, again, very sharp. If you kind of attack it, or if it drops onto gravel or rocks, kind of simulating this experience, you'll definitely be seeing a bit more of wear and tear. But if you kind of wipe it down, it's not overly visible. So it does really hold up quite well to the test of more rugged as well as sharp objects. Still seems to be quite immaculate with the display. So in terms of actually it breaking, what you have to do is apply force on multiple points at tilted angles. Again, a head-on display will not break at all. So if you drop it right flat onto a surface, it's actually not going to shatter. If it hits one edge, and then that leads to kind of the force dispersing and also hitting another point when it's actually trying to pull up and down, that will cause it to actually break. So for instance, if we kind of try and flex it, you can see there it actually already broke on the edges here. So that's showing how stress can affect it by kind of breaking it apart. If I bend it, or if it shatters or hits at multiple curve points, that's where this glass screen protector is really prone to damage, and it's a lot easier and more fragile to break than your typical film protector, which is made out of plastic. But of course, that's going to maybe potentially damage the actual glass behind the screen for your phone. The good thing about these glass screen protectors, though, is it isn't completely 100% the same tempered glass you have on your phone. So if it does shatter, it still tends to stay in place. It's still going to be a spiral shattered, but it's not going to fall in a billion pieces and maybe cut your hands and make it difficult to remove. It's going to stay stuck because there's a layer of adhesive that's invisible to the eye, but you can then peel it off from a corner and remove the damaged glass and hopefully get a new panel installed. So anyways, that's a brief, I guess, closer look at tempered glass screen protectors. There's a bit of variance on the market, but in general, I would say that it's worth it if you are someone looking for a higher degree of protection for your phone, although you don't really care about things like perhaps visibility, the fact that you don't want more customization with your film screen protectors. This is a good option to go with. It does add a bit of bulk, but it could be really useful if you are someone who constantly works in a more rugged environment and you're afraid of cracking the physical glass on your device. So thanks for watching this video here at OS Reviews. This is a brief comparison of tempered glass screen protectors. So to try to break it more, if we try to apply a bit more force, you can see that it will shatter, but it stays in place. It's not going to fall loose. So there we go. Kind of tilted off from an angle, you can see that even though it's completely shattered now, it's not falling out and cutting my fingers and whatnot. It's still, remaining in this one piece that can be peeled off relatively easily from a display.